Hello everyone and welcome to today's web seminar, Complete Control with Microsoft SCCM and these tools. This web seminar is being produced by Windows IT Pro and is sponsored by Goverlan. If you have any technical difficulties during today's session, please press the Help widget on your Player Console to receive assistance in solving common issues. And if at any time you're having audio difficulties or issues with the advancing of the slides, simply hit your F5 key to refresh your webcast console. Please also be aware that today's web seminar is being recorded and will be available on demand for 12 months starting tomorrow. You will receive an email when this is ready. And now I would like to introduce our presenters. Rod Trent is the Engagement Director for Penton. He's a leading expert on Microsoft System Center and cloud technologies and has more than 25 years of IT experience. Rod has written many books, thousands of articles, and speaks at various conferences and user groups. His professional focus is evangelizing technical community on the web and in person. Rod was a Microsoft MVP for 10 years and is a charter member of the Dell Tech Center Rockstar program. He's an avid gadget fan, a die-hard old television show and cartoon buff, a health and exercise freak, and a comic book aficionado. Follow Rod on Twitter at Rod Trent. Mr. Raul Ortiz, VP Product Support and Client Services at Goverlan, has over 13 years of system administration and client support experience. Raul has a profound understanding of system administration, system automation, and root cause analysis. As such, he has been instrumental in helping to define the technical future of Goverlan. Mr. Ortiz has supported fast-paced and company-critical systems for various financial trading firms such as Goldman Sachs, Pali Capital, and InvestCorp International. And with that, Rod, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I just want to say welcome to everyone to today's webinar. I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's interesting. As they said, I'm Rod Trent. My title listed on that slide, that first slide, was Engagement Director. But as things work here at Penton, my roles kind of expand periodically and evolve. And so if you look at my new title, Engagement, Education, and Conference Director, and I'll kind of explain that a little bit here shortly. But yeah, I do a lot of things. Penton is a great organization and really, allow me to flourish here. I know a lot of you that's probably on this event today. You might know me from the years dealing with System Center, Configuration Manager, the old Microsoft Management Summit, a lot of these community events over the years that have to deal with System Center. I've been working with Configuration Manager. Well, we'll call it Configuration Manager. It used to be SMS, but I've been working with it for years. So I think probably if you're in this community, I've either met you, I know you personally, and either that or you're a really good friend of mine. So anyway, I just want to welcome. I'm here basically to set the stage for what we'll be talking about today. I'm going to lay the foundation for I'm going to kind of lead into when Raul steps up and talks about what his company has to offer, which to me is actually pretty amazing based on what I am going to set the stage with. So I think you're definitely going to be interested in it. But this is a big webinar today. It's a short period of time, but we have a lot to cover. The funny thing is that you may not have realized what you're getting yourself into today, but we actually have a lot of stuff. So some content to cover, some demos, have some extra stuff, even a couple announcements, even a giveaway. I'm not sure if you're aware of that or not. But let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, I got a couple housekeeping items I just want you to know. Even though this is a Configuration Manager session today, this is about Configuration Manager tools, third-party and community tools, which to me is one of the most valuable pieces, most valuable parts of Configuration Manager. It's, anybody can take the time to learn this product, but as we all know, there are certain spots within the product that kind of need some help. So we're not going to go over the technical aspects of Configuration Manager today. I'm going to go over the community aspects. and we're going to go over the tools aspects, which I think is going to be extremely valuable to all of you who are trying to make Configuration Manager work better. But to start out, you may not realize, but Configuration Manager vNext, or just Configuration Manager, which is, I think they're labeling it Build 1511 like they did with Windows 10 and Windows 10 Mobile, that went live on MSDN yesterday. So those folks that have been waiting for that with all those features, or have heard about it and probably don't know what those features are, you'll be interested to know that good buddy of mine and a great community person, Kent Egerlin, is actually given a session in 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks, I guess, but on Tuesday, December 15th, to talk about what's new in System Center Configuration Manager vNext, and he's going to go deep dive technical with this stuff. And this was appropriately timed because we knew that Configuration Manager would roll out here shortly, so we appropriately planned the schedule for this. So once these slides become available, I know I have links on some of my slides in the deck, so you'll be able to get those, maybe even do a screen capture so you can grab it later. But I think this is going to be an exciting session for anybody wanting to know and learn about the next version of System Center Configuration Manager. Additionally, another quick announcement other than the next version of Configuration Manager being ready and available. We've not yet announced the dates for IT Dev Connections, where people like Kent are longtime speakers, but our date for IT Dev Connections this year is October 10th through the 13th, 2016. It's back to the same spot this year, and this kind of fulfills my promise to tell you what that long title of mine is. My title seems to expand as often as Microsoft attempts to expand its System Center products. So, what used to be SMS is now System Center Configuration Manager 2012 R2. Well, my title continues to expand. So I'm in charge of those e-learning, which, Kent is doing in a couple weeks, and I'm also in charge of our conferences, which IT Dev is coming up. And it's that one event this year that it's an actual conference, but it has that user group community feel that's completely technical deep dive. And if you've never attended, I feel sorry for you. But if you've never attended, you definitely need to attend this thing, because a lot of the stuff that we'll be talking about today, a lot of stuff Kent will be talking about, and we do in our e-learning, these things will be covered. I've included some links for Twitter, Facebook, and the web to be able to connect with us and find out more information about the event that's coming up. Our 2016 website is not quite live yet, but it will be shortly. I can't give you an announcement on a date on that, but like I said, it's in progress and we're extremely close, but I did want to announce those dates because we will be talking quite a bit about System Center Configuration Manager at IT Dev Connection 2016 from the respect that it's going to be a complete deep dive, know how to use it, know how to deploy it, know how to manage the devices within your organization, both on-premises and in the cloud with the N2 connector. So definitely put that on your schedule. So what we like to say in my house, when we're trying to push on and just get to the point, to the Batmobile. So let's just go ahead and kind of jump in here real quick. Before we turn this over to Goverlan, to Raul, just kind of wanted from a perspective, a community perspective, to give you just kind of a timeline here. And Raul, if you have any thoughts, or the Goverlan folks, or any memories of SMS or Configuration Managers, probably even horror stories, I would think, with some of the versions, feel free to chime in. I started with SMS 1.0, and I don't know, folks on this webinar that are attending this, how far you go back with this product. But yeah, I was there since the very beginning. And while it was painful, SMS 1.0, I think, I've heard it talked about several times over the years that it was almost like someone at Microsoft put this thing together over the weekend, tossed it out on a Monday, and just to see what would happen. Would somebody download it? Would somebody use it? Because it was absolutely that bad. It wasn't until SMS 1.2 came out that really the product started to show some value, and there was some hope in it. But right about that time, right about that area, that was one of the moments, at least in my career, in my life, in my career, where I was working in an IT organization for a large accounting firm, and that's the moment, I think, with SMS 1.2 that I finally realized how valuable it is to be able to manage everything everywhere. And from my perspective, it absolutely saved my job. Working in a large accounting firm with a lot of endpoints, being able to manage all those from a central point with very few resources, very few people. That's when I got it. That's when I started down this long professional trek of evangelizing systems management, whether it's System Center Configuration Manager, SMS, or I've looked at all the other products out there that do the same thing. Obviously, I've always come back to Configuration Manager just because I'm so comfortable with it and because it offers so much value and has so much feature to it. Then we came along to SMS 2.0, SMS 2003. There's probably a lot of people on here are starting to become familiar with some of these numbers now. Maybe it wasn't SMS 1.0. Maybe you started SMS 2003. But then Microsoft changed it to System Center Configuration Manager 2007, evolved the name and convoluted the name a little bit to Configuration Manager 2012 and 2012 R2. So you can have any organization, between the different organizations, they can have a multitude of different versions installed, which is always quite painful. And what I just announced just a little bit ago about the next version of Configuration Manager being available on MSDN to download for those that have that subscription. The next version of System Center Configuration Manager is simply called System Center Configuration Manager. Microsoft is taking, from the System Center group, is taking the same tack that the rest of the company has taken toward Windows. So Windows 10 is Windows 10. No matter what revision level you're sitting at, you're at Windows 10. No matter what revision level you're sitting at with System Center Configuration Manager after you install this latest bit, you're just at System Center Configuration Manager. But I think one of the key and one of the important things to realize when you look down through this timeline and you put yourself in that perspective and think, okay, this is when I joined this SMS and Configuration Manager community. Okay, I remember this. The important thing to remember is, quite honestly, if it weren't for the community, right? If it weren't for such a strong community that built up over the years after probably SMS 1.2, that's probably where this whole journey would have stopped. Microsoft's support of SMS at the time in the early days was so terrible that the community had to come together to try to support each other. And because of that, they made requests to Microsoft. They said, okay, we like this, but we need this. We want, we have this deployed. We're supporting each other. We're actually running this not probably the way Microsoft wants us to, but we're making it work, and we need this product. And Microsoft saw that and continued the evolution, continued the development of the product, which I think is extremely important to know about System Center Configuration Manager. If it weren't for the community, I have no idea. I can't honestly say it wouldn't exist, but it may even exist in just some other level and maybe even a different product or something. But this community has fought over the years to keep this product strong. Because of that, that community has grown up solutions. Community participation for this product is almost a requirement. It is a difficult product to master because there are so many different moving parts along the way just to be able to manage a single device. There's files that get transferred across the network. There's directories. There's information and log files to search through for support. I mean, it would literally take a year to get up to speed on this thing if it weren't for this community. So really, community participation in System Center Configuration is a requirement, whether that's through online events, whether that's through events like IT Dev Connections, or just websites and blog posts. You really have to be invested in sourcing those and looking for those to become good. The one thing about Microsoft, at least in this area, even though System Center Configuration Manager has evolved, and it is a fantastic product and can do almost anything, Microsoft is really, really good, and people that have been in this community and been a customer of Microsoft for a long time know this, that Microsoft does things always just kind of good enough. Customers are asking for this feature, here's your feature. Well, it doesn't quite meet exactly every requirement that I wanted when I requested this feature, but yeah, thanks for the feature. So because of this, Microsoft has always kind of left opportunities for third parties, whether that's community or additional vendors, to be able to fill and tap those holes that Microsoft kind of left. Not that they left them on purpose. Like I said, they create great products that do the job, but sometimes you want them to be able to do more. So this entire ecosystem, both through third-party products and support and also through third-party ecosystem of community, created a bunch of solutions. And that's really kind of where I kind of want to go down this direction for the next few minutes before I turn this over to Raul, because I want you to be aware of the community effort that's gone behind supporting this product and also supporting the needs of the product, or the missing pieces of the product. And like I said at the beginning, from a System Center Configuration Manager standpoint, I think the community is absolutely the most important thing about this, and the ability of the community to come together and say, we have a problem, we'll build our own solution if Microsoft can't do it for us. And I think that's so important. So I'm just going to give you some examples of things that I think are extremely useful tools that, again, once these slides are available, or you can take a screen capture to grab that link, I think you should download these things and take a look at these things like right away if you don't have these implemented within your organization. The first one, written by a good buddy of mine and Microsoft MVP, lives over near the London area. That's a picture of me and Rob there. Rob Marshall, he has what's called the System Center store. And basically what this is, so I'm talking about a bunch of different tools and add-ons that you can put into Configuration Manager, into the console or other places. Rob has actually developed a web-based System Center store that seeks to or tries to pull all this information, all this stuff together in one spot. So he actually has it posted and published on the Microsoft TechNet Gallery in the System Center area, and you can download that. And I think, that's probably the first thing that you want to grab and the first thing that you want to use, because it's going to try to pull in everything that you can think of and have it sit locally. It's not something you have to go keep up with all the time. It's going to update constantly. The next little bit of information I just want to give you, a lot of you know me from my IT forum. My IT forum is the longest running System Center related website and community probably ever in the world. My IT forum has been around since 1998. In various forms up to 2001 when it actually became my IT forum, and we've been running and supporting System Center products ever since. So one of those things, one of those places that we had to support is the community repository, where folks can actually go download solutions, but also upload their own. So we have a community group out there where you can log in, join, and download anything you want that's there, and also upload your solutions. Of course, they'll be vetted, but it's just a way for community, a venue, a vehicle for community to get together and say, okay, I want you to try this, or hey, I'm really proud of what I've done. This is working for us. Just some examples, some things that are there right now. The patch monitoring tool, which is actually pretty awesome, to be able to monitor patches and the distribution of patches within the organization. Configuration Manager package downloader script, which a lot of people find useful, and even something as silly as Visio stencils for be able to outline your infrastructure in a Visio document for System Center Configuration Manager. So when your boss asks when it's budget time, well, show me our infrastructure. Show me what we need. You're asking for new servers. Well, where do we need them? Well, here's our problems. Here's our holes. Here's where we need these things. So I think it's pretty awesome, even though it is kind of a silly, potentially download. Jason Sandys, a lot of you probably know him already, and I would suspect he may even be on this webinar today. But Jason's a great community person, great community evangelist for System Center Configuration Manager. Jason has a really popular Configuration Manager startup script, and what this does basically, or essentially, is that anytime a computer logs into the network, this startup script runs, and it identifies that the Configuration Manager client is up and running the way that it should be, so that you can manage your clients. So imagine if something happened to the network or DNS, or something's wrong with the firewall, maybe somebody pushed out something GPO and screwed up the firewall, or maybe something's broken with the client or with the Windows instance itself. This will go out and check the health and try to either fix that issue when that PC starts up, or at least give you avenues to be able to detect and identify and troubleshoot to be able to fix that. And I think that's huge. That's huge for a lot of Configuration Manager folks. Extremely valuable. Again, take a screen capture of that link, or just wait for this deck to be available. But that's definitely something that you want to grab onto. I should also mention Jason. He's an IT Dev Connection speaker. You'll definitely see him this year. So again, another reason to mark that on your calendar. CLRGen, another Rob Marshall. I've actually put Rob in here a couple times, and I meant to do that. Rob has been working, nonstop for like the past year and developed a lot of solutions. And quite honestly, I should probably have given the link to his website instead of he's been, publishing these things to the TechNet Gallery. But you can see that there. It generates, the CLRGen generates a content location request to help you troubleshoot why packages aren't being delivered to a certain subnet or a certain set of clients. Extremely useful, because otherwise, how are you going to figure that out except for digging through log files in multiple places? Also, again, another MyIT Forum avenue there is Configuration Manager queries, reports, and MOFs. The ability to be able to immediately, grab something that's useful to be able to do reporting within your infrastructure, to be able to distribute packages, troubleshoot sections of computers on the network and things like that. I think it's extremely important and valuable. There's a current count of 61 there, but again, it's one of those places, one of those community design places where you can download what you want or upload to help other people. One example I just wanted to mention, there's a reg key to MOF utility in there. A lot of people with the old MOF files, being able to take registry keys and dump those to a MOF file that System Center can read those into inventory, so you can actually inventory registry key values. I think that's extremely important. So you should definitely check that out. Of course, SMS Installer. I'm not sure how many people still use that these days, but around the SMS 1.2, 2.0 days, Microsoft licensed Wise technology. Anybody remember that product at all, or that company? They're not even around anymore. They were consumed by, I don't know who, Altiris and now Symantec. I don't know. I don't know where they are these days. However, we still have an SMS Installer location out there. A lot of people still use it. In fact, I've used that recently for some Windows 10 stuff, just messing with some of the insider builds to kind of change registry keys really quick instead of having to go through and change them back and forth, to see how things react and see how to kind of change some options for deployment in System Center Configuration Manager. So SMS Installer is still a huge and valuable tool. So we have that repository out there. PowerShell, another awesome area of IT. Scripting. Scripting has definitely evolved over the years, even from the SMS days. But we're now supposed to be PowerShell aficionados. I'll be honest. I know PowerShell, but I'm not nowhere near an aficionado. And if you ask me, say, hey, do this, it's going to take me a week, versus Mr. Greg Ramsey, who's also an IT Dev Connection speaker and talks about PowerShell in conjunction with Configuration Manager every year at IT Dev Connections. But if you go out to his website and go to that category, PowerShell, you're going to find just like too many PowerShell scripts to work with your System Center Configuration Manager environment. PowerShell obviously is not a plug-in for System Center Configuration Manager, but if you follow what Greg is doing and try those and try them yourself, you're going to find that you're going to be able to do a lot of things with PowerShell and Configuration Manager that you never thought was possible. So definitely check out Greg's website. And probably one of the most popular community tools with System Center Configuration Manager, even the old SMS days, was the right-click tools. People know that. I think everybody and their brother probably, 5, 8 years ago, were creating their own right-click tools. Somebody wrote up a really nice document on how to do that, how to work with that within the Microsoft Management Console. The idea is to create, you right-click in the console, and it brings up a list of additional functionality within the console that Microsoft didn't intend to be there, but people actually needed. Again, that community aspect. A lot of people created these things. Probably the most popular there for a while were the ones that were created by Ryan F. Grabe. They were originally created by him. He went to work at Now Micro. Now Micro, I think, manages or distributes at least, and there's 2 versions of them. There's a paid version. I haven't taken the time to actually look at the paid version to see what the differences are between that and the RCT free version, but I do know that there is a free version. Again, I don't know what the differences are. I don't know how hampered the free version is, but I do know it's still a popular set of tools. May not be quite as popular as they were when they were just a community tool, but they still have a lot of value to them for client actions, client tools, console tools, user tools. You do have to fill out a form, which means, Now Micro is going to get a little bit of your information. So you can set them on a spam roll if you want right after. But definitely something you want to take a look at. And I just really want to highlight this community thing and the ability for you to identify and locate, third-party and community tools to be able to enhance and improve your System Center Configuration Manager environment, because everybody wants to do that. You pull up a piece of software out of a package, you load it up, you use it for a while, and there are always annoyances. There is no perfect application. System Center Configuration Manager isn't perfect either, but obviously it's the best at what it does that's out there, from configuration management, endpoint management, security, software deployment, inventory. I mean, the list is long, right? And it continues to grow. It's such an awesome product. It's not perfect, but that's why we have community, and that's why we have third-party tools. So with that, hopefully I've kind of set the landscape for you, laid the foundation. I sat through a demo recently with Goverlan for their product that actually has integration into the System Center console, System Center Configuration Manager console, and I was actually just kind of blown away at the attention to detail for what their product and what their integration actually does. Everybody wants to have one single pane of glass, one console to be able to be the overlord, right, over all that you foresee, over everything that you manage. But still there's a lot of effort that goes into, I got to get this just right. I have to find this tool. I'm missing this one. I'm still missing this piece. Oh my gosh, where am I going to get this? But once I sat through the Goverlan demo, and they're going to give you a demo here right now, I was actually extremely impressed. I'm going, wow, there are things in here I didn't even think of. So you can, as the overlord of your system, you can sit here at one single screen and just control almost absolutely everything within your organization from that one central location. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Raul. Raul?
How you doing, Rod? Thank you very much for that lead up. That's awesome. Just to let you know, I remember, my first SMS 2.0 installation, and I read your book.
Well.
I read your book. I remember what it was like, coming to an organization, and you're looking at the time, all these maybe some XP machines, and you got some 2000 servers or Windows 2000 workstations. You say, how am I going to loop everything together here? How am I going to manage all this from a remote perspective? And the funny part was, whenever you came into SMS 2.0, you said, oh, you got SMS 2.0? All right, well, maybe we can find something else at the moment. But when 2003 came around for System Center, as I moved through, various positions, that's the first thing I asked. Where is System Center? How are you getting all these things done? But in parallel, what I was also doing was working with using Goverlan. And Goverlan is what we're going to demonstrate today, how you can have a system such as SMS and System Center. Let me move that up a little bit. How you can have something like System Center to do all the heavy lifting for your large environments. And then at the same time, needing a utility, another system that is sort of like a laser-guided missile, if you will, to getting into the details and the remote aspects of the workstations that you have. So with that, I'm going to kind of kick this off with talking a little bit about Goverlan and getting everybody familiar with what Goverlan is and how you really, it complements your total aspect of control when you're managing systems within your environment. So just a little agenda here, talk to you a little about what we're going to be speaking about for the next few minutes. In this agenda here, we're going to intro to Goverlan. We're going to get a demo. We're going to tell you a little bit about how we distribute it, and then we'll move into some Q&A afterwards. So I'm just going to speed a little bit through here. Now, what is Goverlan? This is a great question, right? This is something that we get asked all the time, and I like to kind of give it a liken to a framework. Goverlan is going to be able to give you all the tools that you're going to need to control just about any aspect of those workstations and servers. You need some registry changes? No problem. You need to deploy software? No problem. You need to report from a series of workstations or Active Directory user accounts? No problem. Our console allows you to do this. And the main difference between what's going on here is we do it all in real time. So when you look at System Center, it is a lot of moving parts. It is a complex system. You know, you get that when you get that project saying, I need you to implement SCCM, you're sitting there saying, okay, I need to clear my calendar for a little while. Now, when it comes down to Goverlan, it is real time and it talks directly to our agents. And what this allows you to do is to focus your attention on what's happening at the moment. So, for instance, if you are sitting there and you do a SCCM deployment and you deploy a Java update, for instance, to a series of machines, once that's done, you go through your log, you see maybe 15, 20% of them may not have taken. With Goverlan, you're going to be able to run an instantaneous report to see what is the status of that deployment. What machines have it, what machines don't. We do all of this remote, behind the scenes, so we're going to be able to remotely monitor the machines, remotely support any users who may need assistance, let's say with this application deployment, or for any other needs for that matter. And we also give you a great remote control piece that will allow you to, at the end of the day, get on that desktop and see what's happening. Another great thing, and of course in the same vein as System Center, we're looking at everything behind the scenes. So we're not in the business of interrupting the users to get something done, right? So that at the end of the day, you want to be able to say, I deployed this software or I gathered this information from these machines without having to bother the person actually using it. So, of course, that's a major, major factor when looking at your configuration management tools, any of your remote support tools as well. So another aspect as far as what is Goverlan, we're in that framework mentality where we take a lot of different technologies behind the scenes, we put them together and connect them in very smart ways so that you can go ahead and use the software to be able to execute just about any action that you wish. We take PowerShell, we take WMI, we take anything you want from SCCM. We can do the compliance and the auditing and the monitoring and so on, all within a framework. Would you say that Goverlan is a configuration management software? Not necessarily. If you kind of look at it in terms of the framework, if you need configuration management options, Goverlan can help you build them through the tools that we have. If you need to take a look at patch levels to see what's patched, what's not, Goverlan can help you bring that to the table. I kind of like to say that it's sort of what you read at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, right? So bring me your SCCM, bring me your WMI, bring me your PowerShell, and we'll put it all together through a nice, easy-to-use UI and be able to execute and report on just about anything that you need. So for the next part here, let's talk a little bit about how Goverlan is organized. Now, Goverlan is organized into 4 specific modules, and each of these modules have a sort of a focus. Now, the modules themselves are very tightly integrated, but you can use each one of them independently to focus on some really niche areas. So, for instance, in SCCM, you're probably used to just thinking in terms of the workstation, thinking in terms of the server. You have your ConfigMgr client out there, and it's reporting all great information. But the thing is, if you need to sit there and focus on, let's say you have some users that you need to support, the administration diagnostics portion really marries the user and their workstation together. So with administration diagnostics, you'll be able to remotely manage, remotely control, remote command line any of the machines that are within your network. Then further, if you really need to get onto that workstation to see what's going on, you can fire up the remote control piece. And remote control is going to allow you to see that desktop. It will allow you to shadow RDP sessions, shadow Citrix sessions, just to see exactly what the user is seeing. Another great part, and I think this is probably the most powerful part, and the part that kind of weaves in and out a little bit with ConfigMgr, is scope actions. Scope actions is really that framework piece that I was telling you about. When you see it, as I go through the demo, we have just about every aspect covered of the workstation or Active Directory to be able to report and make changes against any of the machines within your network. And that includes bringing your own PowerShell scripts and WMI aspects. And I kind of focus a little bit on WMI because, you know, let's say you are using SCCM and you need to update the ConfigMgr machine policy retrieval cycle on all your machines. With a scope action, you can say, hey, WMI, here's your WMI method. Go out there and do this for me now because I don't want to wait the 30-minute or whatever the case is for the machine policy retrieval cycle. So you can take like a focused group of users and say, I need you to update that now just so I can, so the SCCM task will kick off, for instance. And plus a ton of other things, and then I'll really get into that in a minute. Now, the WMIX module is, again, one of my favorites. It's actually something we offer for free on our website. And it allows you, using a UI, to browse the WMI repository. And as you know, SCCM relies a lot on WMI to do many different things. You'll be able to browse the WMI repository, find those ConfigMgr classes to do different things, include them in your scripts and so on. But another great thing that it allows you to do is actually export that information into PowerShell scripts. So you can hit a button and it will export all the information that you're looking at, the query that you're looking at in the class and so on, into a PowerShell or VB script for you to use anywhere else, including within our modules or within SCCM. Another great integration there is the ability to just generate WQL queries, right? The Windows query language. With those WQL queries, you can generate them using the UI of WMIX and then move that over to your ConfigMgr console and create new queries. And of course, from there, you're seeding this information that you can turn into different things within ConfigMgr. So that's a little bit about how Goverlan is broken down. Each area, of course, has its specialty, but as I go through the console, you'll see how they interweave. So the next part here is the actual demo. I'm just going to go through some of the motions of what are the things to expect within Goverlan. Just draw some parallels, of course, between Goverlan and SCCM, and show you a little bit about where you can really harness the power of controlling your machines in that real-time aspect. So let me just set myself up. and we will go right ahead into it. Okay, so in this demo here, we're gonna run through a few scenarios. We'll run through about 2 or 3 of them, just so you can get a feel of what you're gonna see when you start Goverlan. What are the kind of things that you're gonna be able to do once you have it? So the first scenario, I'm gonna take it from sort of maybe a level 1, level 2 point of view. You have a user who gives you a call, and that user needs assistance. They need something installed on their desktop, or they need you to remote in and see what's going on. What you're going to see here within Goverlan is the modules broken down just as I explained them, and you'll be able to do a quick search for that user. So let's say our great user account, Mr. Aaron Woods. Now, one of the first pieces of information you get when you get one of these phone calls is you see their caller ID. So right away you can take a look at who that person is, do a search for who they are here, and then you can right-click and hit what's called Set Focus. And what that does is it brings us to where in Active Directory this user is. So the main view here in the middle will always be that Active Directory-based view. So right away with Goverlan, you're not going to need to relearn something. We're giving you that Active Directory space right there in the middle. You know your Active Directory structure, so you'll be able to browse and navigate Goverlan very easily. From here, I could do things like manage the account, reset the password, and so on and so forth. One of the great little screens here is the login history. Where has this user been logging in? Well, you can get a history right here from Goverlan as we track that information. We have another very proprietary, very unique Goverlan feature called Fast Connect. Fast Connect is going to allow you to detect in real time where the users are logged in. And this is one area that, you know, as Rod explained, I always look at SCCM and some of the other Microsoft products and say they never quite made that connection to the user session and the physical machine. And here within Goverlan, we're going to be able to make that connection in real time. So you're supporting your user. You want to know where they are. Using the Fast Connect feature, you'll be able to drill in to the tool set. And this also goes for, you know, if your servers, you have Windows servers you need to manage and so on and so forth. So in doing that, we can jump into all great things like system information, right? So here's a great screen that'll show you a little bit about the system, and you'll be able to see where, you'll be able to see what detailed information that the system has to offer, modifying network settings, come in here, join, disjoin, rename a machine, all the things that you would be used to seeing at the workstation themselves. And this is that granular control that I'm talking about here. And all of this stuff, again, is in real time. So if I query CPU information or I query memory information, it's how it exists right now. Now, if you go in and you run your ConfigMgr reports, that's great, but you're also taking a look as things exist in the database. Goverlan allows you that unique ability to see what's happening now so that you can react. So we have some great screens here to show you. We've got some fantastic utilities. Basically, think about it as if I was in front of the machine. I needed to remove somebody from the local admin group. I needed to change something in the device manager. I needed to push out an application, right? That's usually the second thing you hear next to SCCM. SCCM, deploy applications. So here with Goverlan, we're going to give you the ability in real time to say, I need to dispatch a program. Now, these applications, you package them up into something called Goverlan packages. You can use your same existing SCCM repositories where you keep all your EXEs and your MSIs and import them here into Goverlan. And I can say, you know what, this user needs Java, so I will go ahead and install Java on this machine. This is happening in real time, behind the scenes. The user is unaware. You can remain as the quote-unquote magician. So another thing that we can do from here is we can also remove the software and so on. Now let's take it up a notch. We have some other great utilities, but let's say you have a procedure that you need to follow for this machine. Let's say you have, here's one experience that I had. I remember we had a rogue GPO in one of my environments where it would always reset the IE proxy settings. So one day, you might walk into the office and the person in charge of that is not doing what they had to do, and you have about 15 users complaining they can't get on the internet. So one of the things that we did was we would come in here and make something called a custom action. This custom action is a series of events that you can put together sort of like a script. Now with these series of events, you can decide, I need to change a registry key, delete a file, and then restart an application. And I'll show you a little bit about how that's put together. Now here, with the custom action here, this one is a simple report. We'll just do one just to show you a little bit about how it works. A custom action consists of a module, and this module is a series of actions. The actions can be report actions or they can be actual actions. If I double-click Add New here, you're going to see the action module screen. And I have to tell you, this is really where all the magic happens. Using this Add Remove button, this is where that framework really comes into play. So here I can take a look at Execute Computer Action, and you can see we have menus upon menus of things you can do. So much so that we actually had to add a search box to the menu system. So if I wanted to do, let's say, a registry action, I can come in here, go to my registry action, and set a string value. So in the case of this proxy settings, I would just come here and drill into the IE properties that I needed that were in the registry. I'll just give you a quick example of something like, my registry settings. That's the key you're looking for. Then something like a value name, server, and the data could be, I don't know, an IP address. So now I have a registry action. So what this will do is change something on the machine for me. And I can continue to chain these actions together over and over again. We can then come in here and decide if we wanted to add a condition. Only do this if there's a user logged in. Only do this if maybe there's a file that exists, or if a local drive space is so on and so forth. So you can kind of get the feeling of what we're doing there. So I'll just name this here, just so you can get a feel for what these things are like. And I can continue to add more modules. This can get very complex. You can create a series of actions here within the custom action, and it will execute them in the order that they are within the module, and then for each module beyond that. And of course, you can save that and share that with other Goverlan users in your organization. So we have some other actions here, like deploying a software, for instance, creating reports, and so on. So that's going to help us segue into the next part, which is the scope action. Oh, and let me just take a quick step back as far as custom action is concerned. We can also add WMI-based queries to custom actions. We can also add WMI method calls here. So one favorite one that I had in my time with SCCM is I wanted to create a custom action that, of course, set the machine policy retrieval cycle. So we'll double-click it, and it'll force that machine to take all of the latest tasks from that were advertised to it. So the next module that we have here is called Scope Action. And Scope Action is basically everything I just described in custom action, but except of focusing it on the one machine, or maybe a few machines, we can do it for our organization. So here we may want to, for instance, create a report where all Active Directory accounts that were inactive for 90 days. Or we might want to create a hardware inventory report. Things that you can create very easily. If I come here to the properties, you'll see it looks almost like the custom action, except we have this scope screen. And scope modules look just like action modules in the sense that they are objects that you can add, but you can then come in here and decide, I want to target everyone in a specific container, or I want to target a specific IP range, or an Active Directory site. So you'll be able to combine your targets in whatever way fits your organization, and then continue to add modules for each one. Then the action module, we're back to the action module screen as we saw before, looks exactly the same. So we can go ahead and choose the options that we want to report on. We can add conditions, and then from there, proceed on to creating our reports or executing our actions. Now, again, feel free to add PowerShell scripts to these actions. Add WMI methods and WMI queries to these to further enhance your workflows. This will help you loop in your SCCM implementations into whatever you're doing here. And it's not only SCCM, by the way. You can also call an exe that updates the DAT file for your, let's say, antivirus. Let's say you have a virus breakout and you don't want to wait for all your antivirus endpoints to wake up when they want to wake up. You can run an action that will do that for you. I'm going to describe one last one here, and this is one we're really proud of here because we put together a really, really comprehensive action that you can do for, let's say, that unfortunate time when you have to terminate an employee, when you have to create a workflow for this. So one of the things that we did is we created a few scope actions that will help us automate this process. So one of the things that you'll need to do is, let me just jump into the scope action here, is get an NTFS permission report. Goverlan will allow you to query a directory and get the NTFS permissions for that directory for a specific user. Then you might want to kick off a PowerShell script that exports the mailbox to a PST, and then run a series of actions that will terminate an employee, such as maybe moving their Active Directory account to a location, resetting the password, also creating some reports on where this user has been logging in or what group memberships that they belong to. You can create one great package to deliver to your compliance team and say, this is everything we know about this user. And through scope action, you can go ahead and create those reports, create those complex workflows, bringing in anything that you have available for SCCM, bringing in anything that you have available from your PowerShell, Batch, VB scripts, or any other system that you might use. We've also got software deployment options here, so you can come in here and say, I want to install Java version 7 on all of my machines. And what's really great about these scope actions and something like installing Java, for instance, we can add a condition, right? So I remember going to an organization, and we had to update Java to Java 7, update 67, this specific version because there was a web application that required it. But of course, you know how Java updates every day now, so what ends up happening is that you may have a series of different Java versions all over your organization. Let's say some of them, you know, are under the influence of SCCM, but some of them just never got the task to do it, or there were some errors. With Goverlan, you can come back and say, okay, for those machines that I need to remediate, I don't care what previous version of Java 7 they have. So here we're going to say, install Java 7 update 67 when Java 7 already exists. We can also add an uninstall action to this. So we can say, you know what, actually, I want you to uninstall Java 7, whatever version is there, and then install Java 7 Update 67 specifically. So this takes all the guesswork out of what other versions are there and so on. So that's a key indicator here, is being able to add that logic to your scope action so that you can execute just about anything you want in a very smart and efficient manner. Let me see here. And then, of course, there's software inventory reports, hardware inventory reports, monitoring. You can tell a scope action to run on a schedule and say, you know what, run every 10 minutes, tell me when the hard disk is low on a specific series of machines, and send an email. So again, scope action is really the heart of that framework. Are we a network monitoring system, a server monitoring system? No. We have the framework for you to build your own custom monitoring system that you want. And that really goes for just about anything else here. Now we can, of course, talk a little bit about remote control, because at the end of the day, when you need to get on a system, you need to get on a system. You need to see what error messages are popping up. You need to help a user do something, or you need to monitor a series of servers. Goverlan remote control will allow you to do that in a super, super fast and easy way. If I come here to the Connect button, of course we have that Detect User Workstation feature, which we call Fast Connect. This is really one of my favorite features of Goverlan because I just don't want to ask the user, what's your machine name? So here we can say, okay, he's logged into that machine. Let me go to that machine. So we can detect that the user's logged in, doing something on this machine. We have our great tabbed UI. It allows us to connect to just about anything in several different panes here. So I might want to connect to 2 machines. And it's going to allow us to jump back and forth between these machines, which is great. But from more of a server monitoring perspective, from more of a, you want to get an overview of a series of machines, we have a really great feature here. Let me just reset this a little bit so we can so you can really see the effect here. We can add containers right here to our favorites view and decide, you know what, let's open a remote control session on all of these machines. Goverlan is going to be able to create a monitoring view, and in this monitoring view, we'll be able to see things like performance counters. We'll be able to see the actual desktop of a series of machines all at one point. So here we can come to any of these machines, mouse over them, get some great information. These are live thumbnails. As something is happening on the machine, you'll be able to see it. We have several customers that love this view for monitoring servers. They'll take a server, a pool of servers, put them up here, put them on a screen, and then use the performance counter area here to just monitor some of the really great important basics that you need to look at. So you're looking at disk usage. We have a heat map view here, so it'll tell you exactly, you know, if CPU is taking too much time and so on and so forth. So that's some of the great things about remote control. We also support lots of different tools within here, so you can right-click and do some great stuff as well. And one of the other areas of Goverlan to cover is WMIX. WMIX, again, this is a free tool. You can go on our website right now and download it. WMIX will allow you to browse the WMI repository of any machine that's on your network. And we do it in a nice UI-based method so that you can come here and browse the WMI without having to know scripts to do it. So these are some of the great things with Goverlan that you'll be able to grab all the things that you need, integrate with SCCM as far as being able to call on the little WMI aspects of SCCM and do other things in that nature. And of course, satisfy the live aspect of what's going on within your network. So SCCM will get you to the point where you'll need to do all the heavy lifting on your workstations. So to be able to get everything up and running, but then when you need to come with the laser-focused vision of being able to control anything on your network in real time, Goverlan is going to allow you to do it. And with that, that concludes our demonstration of Goverlan. And I believe we'll be opening this up to Q&A in a little bit.
All right, thanks, Raul. Before we begin the Q&A session, I would like to ask the audience to please take our survey by clicking on the red survey widget on your audience console. We do have quite a few questions, and I do apologize. I don't think we'll have time to go through all of them. We will have to take a few of these offline, and we'll make sure Raul will get the chance to answer them. So here's the first question. What type of infrastructure is necessary to support Goverlan?
That's a great question, actually. So while you may clear your calendar for SCCM, Goverlan by itself just requires an agent on the target machine and the console that I showed you. You don't really need to have a very super large infrastructure with servers all over the place. Goverlan is meant to run very slim and very fast. So you download the console, you push out your agents, and you'll be able to execute everything that I've shown you.
All right, here's another question, and I know everybody is excited for a quick announcement that we'll make right after this, but here's a question first. How does Goverlan integrate with AD? What type of pre-configuration is required?
Again, that's another great question. Active Directory, Goverlan doesn't require any pre-configuration to integrate with Active Directory. We are simply reading AD as it exists and overlaying our stuff right on top. So there's no configuration that's going to be necessary for you to do to prepare for Goverlan.
Right, and as I promised, Raul, I know you have an announcement.
Yes, so we are giving away an Apple iWatch today, which is pretty exciting. And I would like to announce the winner of the iWatch. The winner is Sean M. And I believe Sean M. is from, I'm not
Sorry,
sure,
we don't really have more information from that, but yeah, I will definitely reach out to Sean.
Okay, so the winner is Sean M. Congratulations.
All right, great news. I'm pretty sure Sean is excited, and he will be hearing back from you. We'll take one more question, and I think we'll have to wrap it up after that. So here's the next question. Can it report on Citrix and TS user sessions?
That is a fantastic question as well. Yes, we can report on the location where a user is logged in a Citrix session or terminal services session. And we can actually control different aspects of their session itself. So for instance, if that Citrix session has some printers mapped to it, we'll be able to see those sessions, those printer mappings as well as they exist within the session and control them.
All right, thanks, Raul. Well, I'm afraid that we have run out of time for this session. I would like to thank Goverlan for sponsoring this seminar, and Rod and Raul for their great presentations. Just a reminder, this presentation will be available on demand starting tomorrow, so feel free to come back and review. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you for attending.